Good evening, friends. Today I'm going to talk about Ratchet Mechanism. Probably some of you will be interested in understanding what is this Ratchet Mechanism. But before going to that, I may be doing some number crunching. We're all aware that Bangalore International Airport Limited is one of the growing airports in India and very popular in terms of its facilities, in terms of passenger preferences, capacity to bear the load, and number of flights that are coming in and coming out. Of course, COVID period is some exception, but generally I'm saying that 2016 Fairfax Holding acquired about 33% of Bangalore Airport. At the time, the GVK controlled the airport was the company which owned the airport was debt ridden, and even at that time 33% stake was acquired for a value of 2162 crores. 33 is nothing but one third, so you can understand the value must be something like 6542 crores, or three times of the 33%. And thereafter, of course, side by side, Fairfax had entered into another agreement for purchasing another 5%. And 2021, in 5 years down the line, today we are talking again about Bangalore International Airport Limited, and that is because what was purchased considered to be a 6,500 crore approximately value of Bangalore International Airport in 2016. In 2021, mind boggling 20,000 crore, almost like 19,500 crore is what we are discussing of the valuation of Bangalore International Airport, and 54% is held by Fairfax Holding. The value, according to the Canadian based Fairfax Holding Company, is about $2.6 billion, which is what I said as 20,000 crore, 90,500 or something, maybe like 75 rupees you can take per dollar. So 20,000 crore. And the deal is that the Fairfax is going to form some Anchorage company in India, where the majority stake it is holding out of the 54% is going to transfer to Anchorage. And I guess, as per the news reports, it has struck a deal with the OMERS, OMERS. In my opinion, maybe it is an acronym for Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement Scheme or something. It's not clear, maybe I didn't check it. But this OMERS is going to invest in the Fairfax Holdings India by acquiring about 11.5% of the stake, and which will translate to 5% of the holding, which means let us say if it is 20,000 crore, 200 crore will be the valuation for 10%, and 5% of the value will be 100 crore. So the idea of Fairfax is to give a stake in such a way to OMERS, in such a way that ultimately it will hold 5% control it will have ultimately. So what their deal is that they may be coming out with a public issue. Great. 6,000 crore to 20,000 crore in 5 years, in which 1 year is lost in COVID, is a great journey of the corporate capital mechanism. And you must know that 13% is held by the state government and 13% is held by the central government through the Airports Authority of India. And ultimately, when Bangalore International Airport hits the public through an IPO, they're targeting about 2.9 billion. Today, 2.6 billion US dollars, say 19,500 crores, and they're thinking about 2.9 billion US dollars, the public issue valuation. It's not that all the money is going to be raised through public, only a small offer for sale will be made, and the valuation will be, target valuation will be 2.9 billion US dollars, which is approximately, we can say, 22,000 crores. See the journey. 4 years, COVID year, you forget it. 6,000 March 2016, and March 2021 minus 1 year, March 2020, the valuation is up by almost like 14,000 crore, and in the IPO the target price is 22,000 crore, 21,750 crores, a great value. And This is how the deals are happening outside the country for a value inside the country, and that is a single airport can give this much. This is why you need travel and tourism to grow. And technologically, of course, e-meetings and all may be there, but nothing is going to remove the pleasure of traveling and meeting and going around and doing things. Now back to Ratchet Mechanism, with which I started originally, and here is the deal secret, or the deal strategy is: suppose the price at which the public issue is made does not give a valuation of $1.3 billion for the stake of Fairfax. There is an agreement between owners and Fairfax Holdings that there will be a dilution in such a way that ultimate holding of the owners will be equivalent of a valuation of $1.3 billion, which means you must grow up to $2.9 billion, and that is the target. 2.6 is going to give you something like 1.3 for 50% stake and 1.3 billion. So you can understand ratchet mechanism, how is going to work. And suppose the ratchet mechanism is introduced, there is no problem for the investor, because ultimately the number of shares can be increased if the multiplication factor falls. So if the valuation is not 1.3 billion US dollars, but it is less than that, they will always be making some adjustments. And the ratchet mechanism is something which we need to discuss, as generally it is known as anti-dilution provision. There are so many ways in which your stake value can reduce because of various normally exceptions will be the incremental increase in holdings due to employee stock option shares and all. Otherwise, there will be a ratchet mechanism which is like an anti-dilution protection. For example, private equity investors invest in the prospective candidates with a view to go for listing as an exit route in 2 or 3 years or 3 to 5 years, and at the end of the listing they make a killing. That is how they probably plan. And you will always find in usually the terminologies like qualified IPO means what? The IPO price must be in such a way that it gives a desired internal rate of return, IRR, of let us say some 12%, something like that. So suppose if the IPO price is not so much, the IPO will not be a qualified IPO, it will be an ordinary IPO, and there may be a ratchet mechanism or some other mechanism by which the investors would like to protect their interests, and for the purpose of getting the money, promoters do also accept such conditions and covenants. These are all the normal terminologies used in the transaction advisory when we see some deals happening. Fortunately, in India, we know that nowadays a lot of IPOs are coming. Market is looking up. Investors are in a way bullish, and this type of valuation. One interesting point I thought I'll use the opportunity to share is, that differential voting rights, shares are issued with differential voting rights, differential dividend rights. And if you carefully notice section 43 read with rule 4 of the SCD rules, you will understand the difference could be in terms of dividend difference could be in terms of voting rights, and difference could be in terms of otherwise, which means there could be other differences. And here is a case where vis-a-vis the shares, do the shareholders enjoy rights which are superior than what is available to others? Yes, here is a shareholder in ratchet mechanism who has a right to get compensated if the target price is not achieved in the public issue or post a particular period. However, these rights are not given by the company itself to the shares, but it is given by the individual shareholders, promoters to the investors, etc. And therefore, vis-a-vis the company, this right cannot be taken. But however, there is always a possibility that the mechanism is used in such a way that we achieve the targeted valuation. And also, if there are problems, there could be several ways of compensating, being in control of the management of the affairs of a company. Moreover, disclosures, if you look at the prospectus or offer document, what type of disclosures, what type of material contracts are disclosed, whether this will constitute sort of a differential rights shares. And if you look at the ICDR, that is issue of capital and disclosure requirements regulations issued by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, as defined in EEA of Regulation 2.1, it says the differential rights, SR shares they call it, as special rights, and that should be and can only be relating to superior voting rights and nothing else. There cannot be any difference in the dividend rights or other rights. Shares must rank pari passu when it is listed, and therefore it brings to the table a discussion on what is the ratchet mechanism and how the players in the market could take the company to different levels, and whether the regulations sufficiently provide for explanation or clarification as to whether this type of mechanism, which can indirectly have a valuation issue, which can indirectly have a managerial issue, can indirectly have a governance issue, at the end of the day, whether regulations take care of that. Why should a particular shareholder in an issue of shares alone be benefited to the prejudice of others? Why should a target valuation be fixed so that all energies are focused, all fees are governed and structured to achieve that? Ultimately, the public are going to pay the price. Therefore, one has to be very careful whether disclosures are sufficient, whether these will constitute different shares with differential rights, though the rights are partly, confirmed by and given by some other party who holds also a co-owner or a co-shareholder. These questions I am leaving it open for the time being. Thank you very much for this patient hearing. If you have any thoughts, if you like this video, you can like it, but you can share your comments and thoughts, which will be helping me a lot.